It all started with a simple argument between me and my adoptive sister, a few harsh words, nothing more. And yet, my own father had the heart to push me out of a 13th floor window. I died on the spot. But death wasn't the end for me. Instead of vanishing into nothingness, I lingered a ghost tethered to the man who killed me. And from the shadows, I began to see everything. Every lie, every secret, every mask he wore. I learned that he married my mother, not out of love, but ambition. She was a stepping stone, a rung on the ladder he so desperately wanted to climb. In truth, his heart had always belonged to someone else, his so-called childhood sweetheart. That woman bore him a daughter, too. Her name, Anna. The same Anna who grew up in our home. The same girl I was told was my adopted sister. It was all part of his plan. From the very beginning, he had schemed to seize my mother's family fortune. Once that was done, he'd toss us aside and build a picture-perfect life with the woman he truly loved and their precious daughter. But fate had other ideas. I came back. I woke up on the very day he brought Anna into our home, the day it all began. "Anna, aren't you going to greet your mother?" My father stood beside her, gently nudging her forward toward my mother with a forced smile. Anna looked like a frightened little bird, too timid to meet anyone's gaze, her shoulders trembling, eyes downcast. But I knew better now. Behind those shy glances and trembling lips hid a truth darker than anyone could imagine. And this time, I wouldn't let history repeat itself. Her arm, partially exposed under the sleeve, was covered in marks, welts from being struck with a whip. That pitiful image, that trembling, injured little girl, was enough to stir compassion in my mother's heart the moment she laid eyes on her. She didn't just take Anna in, she embraced her, treated her like her own flesh and blood. Sometimes, even better than she treated me. Never once did she let the girl feel lacking or unloved. Just as my mother reached out to gently take Anna's hand, should I tell her that Anna is actually father's illegitimate daughter? I saw it, a flicker. My mother's fingers, wrapped around Anna's, gave the slightest tremble. She looked around, uncertain, and finally turned to me. I blinked at her, wide-eyed and innocent, her brows furrowed. She must have thought she imagined it. Any moment now, I thought. Anna will throw herself into mother's arms, sobbing and tragic. And that will be the start of her sympathy. The start of her downfall. Right on cue, Anna lunged forward, burying her face into mother's chest, weeping miserably. In my past life, that moment had broken something in my mother. She had clutched Anna tightly and cried with her, as if they were kindred spirits, reunited by fate. But this time, my mother didn't cry. Her eyes stayed fixed on me. "Helen, were you just speaking?" she asked softly, as if not trusting her own ears. "No, Mother," I replied calmly. Inside, I thought, she mustn't know I've come back. If she finds out, she'll think I'm some kind of monster. Mother's eyes widened, disbelief flickering across her face. That's when Father stepped forward, all benevolence and warmth, placing a hand on Anna's back. There, Anna," he said gently. "Don't cry. From now on, this is your home." Then he turned to me with that same false kindness. "Helen, why don't you take Anna to her new room?" "Yes, Father." I nodded obediently, but inside, my thoughts ran cold. Any minute now, Anna will fall down the stairs. She cry, she act hurt, and she'll say I pushed her. And sure enough, halfway there, right on schedule, Anna suddenly tumbled down the stairs in a dramatic heap. Father was the first to rush to her side. He scooped her up in his arms, panic in his voice. "Anna, are you all right?" Through her tears and pain, Anna whispered brokenly, Don't blame Helen. It was my fault. I slipped." My father immediately turned to me, his face darkening with anger. "Helen," he said sharply, "from this day on, Anna is your older sister. How could you treat your sister like that? Have we spoiled you too much all these years? Is that why you've turned into someone who can do such terrible things?" Just then, my mother arrived. But unlike my father, she didn't look furious. There was no outrage in her face, just a calm, unreadable expression. Seeing her, Anna hurried to speak, her voice trembling with just the right amount of pitiful sweetness. "Mom, please, don't blame Helen. I understand. She just needs time to accept me. After all, she's always been the only daughter in the house. It must be hard for her. I don't blame her." In my previous life, those words had worked like poison, gentle, sweet, and slow-acting. That was how Anna first planted the seed of doubt in my mother's heart. From that moment on, she began to believe I lacked compassion, that I was selfish, cruel, even. And then it spiraled. Day by day, Anna spun lie after lie, weaving a web that trapped me. My mother grew more and more disappointed in me, and before long, all of her love was reserved for Anna, and none for me. This time, I thought bitterly to myself, it's over, I'm done for. They're going to punish me. No matter what I say, they won't believe me. Maybe it's better if I just stay quiet. I looked up and saw my mother's eyes on me. There was something strange in them, a flicker of guilt, of sadness, of pain, and then, slap, a sharp, sudden crack echoed through the hall. My mother's hand had landed, hard, on Anna's cheek. I saw my father standing there, stunned, frozen in place, completely caught off guard. My mother, on the other hand, was furious. I saw everything just now. She snapped, her voice sharp as steel. You fell on your own. And then you had the nerve to accuse Helen. No wonder your previous adoptive family sent you back. Poor or not, pitiful or not, there's always a reason someone ends up unwanted. The slap had been just the beginning. Now came the storm. The decision to adopt Anna had been entirely my father's. He had returned home one day with a heartfelt tale about visiting an orphanage during a charity event, how he'd come across a poor, delicate little girl who had once been adopted but was later sent back by the family. He said he couldn't bear to leave her there. He said she deserved another chance. He said, we only have one daughter. Wouldn't it be nice if Helen had a little sister to keep her company? My mother had resisted at first. She wasn't easily swayed. But my father had begged, pleaded, talked of kindness and compassion and second chances. Eventually, she gave in. And now, the very first day, the mask had already slipped. It was obvious now. My father had deliberately positioned himself between Anna and my mother when it happened, trying to block her view, trying to keep her from seeing the truth. But she had seen, and she wasn't going to let it go. You, Anna stammered, terrified, completely at a loss. Her eyes darted to my father, silently begging for help. He rushed forward with a forced calm, trying to defuse the situation. Anna's been through a lot, he said gently. She's struggled with rejection all her life. She doesn't feel safe yet. That's probably why she misunderstood what happened. That's all it is. Just a misunderstanding. You're letting your temper scare her. My mother was just about to expose my father's lies to tear the mask right off his face, when suddenly, she heard it, my thoughts. If she confronts him now, he'll deny everything. He'll just play dumb and pretend to be hurt. And worse, she'll be tipping him off. He still holds a large stake in the company. It's not the time yet. She froze. Her expression faltered for just a moment. A flicker of surprise passed through her eyes, and I kept thinking, my brothers will definitely side with him. He's always played the doting, gentle father, while painting Mom as the strict one. If something does go down, they might not hesitate to defend him. My mother stayed silent. She was thinking it through. She understood what I was saying, or rather, what I wasn't saying aloud, and she knew I was right. She took a deep breath, pushed her fury down, and said in a cool, clipped voice to my father and Anna, I don't want to see something like this happen again. Anna nodded sweetly, as obedient and innocent as ever, like nothing had just happened. Mrs. Amanda, my mother said, turning to the housekeeper, take the girl to her room. Without a word, Mrs. Amanda hurried to escort Anna upstairs. My father made a move, ready to step in, probably to smooth things over, to work his charm, to get my mother to start softening toward Anna again. That was always the goal, win her over, make her love the girl. But this time, my mother took my hand. She turned on her heel and walked right past him without a glance. My father stood there, stunned. His eyes followed us, wide with disbelief. Usually, all it took was a few gentle words, a little sweet talk, and she'd forgive him like nothing ever happened. But today, she hadn't even looked at him. I glanced back over my shoulder. And I couldn't help it. A cold smile tugged at the corners of my lips. He still thinks this is his story. That everything will go on just like before. But he has no idea. His golden days are already numbered. My mother led me back to my room. Once the door closed behind us, she turned to me, her gaze steady and searching. Helen, she said softly, tell me the truth. Do you know something about your father? I blinked up at her with wide, innocent eyes and quickly shook my head. No, I don't know anything, but in my heart, I was thinking, I can't tell her if I do. She'll only be disappointed in me again. In my previous life, when I caught father with another woman and told her everything, she didn't believe me. She said I was too young to make up such lies. She told me I lacked kindness, that I was jealous just because father was being a little nicer to Anna, and I was afraid she'd stop loving me. I watched as her eyes suddenly welled with tears. A quiet sorrow settled on her face, mixed with something else, guilt. She reached out and cupped my cheek gently. Helen, you're my daughter. You are the one I love most in this world. Always have, always will. That warmth broke something in me. I threw my arms around her, burying my face into her shoulder. I love you the most. Too, Mama, I whispered, my voice trembling. She didn't press me for answers after that. She didn't need to. But in the days that followed, I began to notice the shift. She no longer smiled at my father. No longer laughed at his jokes. When Anna tried to cozy up to her offering help, speaking sweetly, playing the perfect daughter, my mother acted as if she hadn't heard a thing. Even when my father went out of his way to please her, to win her affection back, she gave him nothing. Not a glance, not a word. She had seen enough, and this time, she wasn't going to pretend otherwise. My mother, who used to stay far away from the family business, suddenly began showing up at the company more and more often. It didn't take long for me to notice the ripple effect. My father was uneasy. So was Anna. After dinner, I caught them huddled in a dark corner of the house, whispering in hushed tones. Dad, Anna said, her voice laced with frustration. Didn't you say she was easy to win over? I've tried everything, being sweet, obedient, helpful, but she still treats me like I'm invisible. What's going on? My father sighed, annoyed. I don't know either. It's like she's become a completely different person. Maybe it's menopause or something. Don't stress about it. Then his tone shifted quieter, more calculating. Your second brother's coming home tomorrow for winter break. He's simple-minded. Start with him, get close, gain his trust. Anna nodded obediently. Okay, you need to replace Helen Jones in this house. Once everyone adores you, once you're the little darling of the family, taking over this inheritance will be as easy as flipping a switch. Then we can bring your real mother here and live the good life. Don't worry, Anna said confidently, eyes gleaming. Helen's a fool. How could she possibly be a match for me? I'll win this family over in no time. And in my last life. She did. I didn't just let my guard down, I welcomed her in. I let myself be brainwashed by my father into believing she was my sister, into loving her like she was part of me. But behind my back, she was poisoning every relationship I had, turning the entire family against me. One by one, until no one believed me, no one cared. In the end, I was alone. And she was the one everyone adored. But not this time. This time, she wouldn't get to play the golden girl. The next day, just after noon, my second brother came home for winter break. My second brother was, quite frankly, a walking food coma in human form. He weighed over 100 kilos, avoided anything that remotely resembled exercise, and lived exclusively on junk food. Studying, please. He'd rather die than open a book. He spent his days glued to video games, and the only reason he ever got into college was because our family paid his way through the back door. To the outside world, my second brother was a textbook case of wasted potential. Even my mother hadn't expected him to turn out like this. But then again, she had poured every ounce of her energy into raising our eldest brother, the golden child. As for the second son, he had been left to my father, and my father, in all his manipulative wisdom, had told him from a young age, there's no need for you to work hard. Your older brother will take care of everything. You just enjoy life. Be a carefree second-generation rich kid. So that's exactly what he became. A professional slacker. A junk food enthusiast. A layabout prince, waiting for life to serve itself on a silver platter. Second brother. Anna was the first to greet him at the door. Her smile sparkled with just the right amount of sweetness. She leaned in close, her voice practically a whisper in his ear. I heard from Dad you love fries, spicy food, fried chicken, instant noodles. I stocked up your room with all of it. Even got the Coke you like, but don't tell Mom, okay? I caught the spark in my brother's eyes. Delighted, guilty, excited. Of course he was thrilled. My mother had a strict ban on junk food in the house. Whenever he came home, She would go through his bags like a customs officer at the border, confiscating every last bag of chips and bottle of soda. Back then, it used to be my father sneaking him the contraband. Now the role had shifted, and Anna had stepped into place. I watched it all play out, the way my brother's face lit up when she mentioned the snacks, and I saw it, the instant automatic softening. He already liked her, until he heard me. He didn't hear me speak, but he heard what I was thinking. Watching him and Anna whisper and giggle like old friends, I rolled my eyes and muttered silently to myself. Seriously, he's already this fat, and he's still stuffing himself with junk food. What's the plan? Turn into a pig for life. I saw it, the way my brother's chubby face suddenly went stiff. He turned to me, his eyes narrowing, locking onto mine. He glared hard. Even a 3-year-old knows junk food is bad for you, I thought, calmly watching him. Why doesn't he ever stop to wonder why Dad and Anna keep feeding him this stuff? What did you just say? He demanded, his voice rising with anger. I didn't say anything, I replied innocently, blinking up at him. He stared at me, confused now. Because I hadn't moved my lips? Not once. I hadn't said a single word aloud, but then, he heard it again. Still not the right time to tell him, I thought, watching his face closely. He doesn't realize Dad raised him into being useless on purpose. My brother's expression shifted from anger to shock. His wide eyes stared at me like I'd just grown horns. I tilted my head, but said nothing out loud. But really, I added in my mind, if he keeps eating like this, his esophagus will fail him sooner or later. He'll end up a skeleton wrapped in sagging skin. His mouth fell open. The look on his face, a mix of disbelief and alarm, was almost comical. I turned and began walking away, my thoughts trailing behind me like smoke. Let him stay close to Dad and Anna if he wants. It's not like he cares about me anymore. Ever since she showed up, I haven't been his precious little sister. Helen, he called out suddenly. I paused, turning back. Yeah, second brother, He hesitated, uncertain. For just a second, I could see the question flash across his face. Am I imagining this? Then he said, almost awkwardly, I got you something. Before Anna ever entered our home, I had been the family's darling. Everyone doted on me. Even my rebellious second brother. I walked over slowly, cautiously. He handed me a model, a detailed figurine, the kind we used to build together when I was little. Do you like it? He asked. I nodded, yeah. But my voice was flat, detached. Because inside, I was already bracing myself. Sure, he's being sweet now. But give it a little time. Soon, he'll only care about Anna. Even this model, one day, it'll end up in her hands, not mine. No way, my brother started, as if reading my mind. This is for you. From me. Before he could say more, Anna's voice cut in, sugary sweet. Wow, she gasped, stepping closer. It's beautiful. I've never seen a model so realistic before. It's like the real thing. My brother looked at her, a flicker of irritation in his eyes. But Anna kept going, her voice full of awe and longing. Helen's so lucky. You're such a good brother to her. If I had a model like that to cuddle while I slept, I'd probably be the happiest girl in the whole world. And just like that, I was back in the past. This was exactly how it had happened before. That sweet, innocent tone, the wide, admiring eyes, the subtle guilt-tripping, it had worked. Back then, my brother had beamed with pride and told me to give the model to her, promising he'd get me another one. He never did. From that point on, every scrap of affection, every thoughtful gift, slowly drifted away from me, and toward her. But not this time. Before my brother could speak, I turned and handed the model to Anna myself. If you like it that much, you can have it. She blinked in surprise, caught off guard. And in my mind, I added, if I don't give it to her, second brother will just ask me to anyway. I don't want to make things difficult for him. Anna's face lit up like a child on Christmas morning. Really, thank you, Helen. And right at that moment, I braced myself. Here it comes, I thought. She's going to accidentally drop it, then blame me for breaking it. Just like she did in the last life. As I placed the model into her hands, I barely had time to let go before it slipped straight from her fingers and hit the ground with a sharp, shattering crack. The sound of fine porcelain splintering on tile, and like clockwork, the tears came. Oh no, she sobbed. It was so beautiful. How could it break like that? Ever since I was a kid, I've always dreamed of having something like this. Then she turned toward me, voice trembling with accusation. Helen, even if you didn't want to give it to me, you didn't have to break it. She didn't stop there, of course not. She spun to my second brother, eyes watery and pitiful. Don't be angry with Helen, please. I'm sure she didn't mean to do it. She probably just got careless. And then, why would I be angry at Helen? My brother's voice cut through her little performance like a blade. His gaze was sharp, cold, and, to my surprise, focused squarely on her. Anna froze. She hadn't expected that. She'd thought this part through, rehearsed every line. She was ready for my brother to scold me, maybe call me petty or jealous, but instead, he turned on her. You dropped it. That's your fault. Why would I blame Helen for your clumsiness? Anna stammered, her voice suddenly small. When she handed it to me, she kind of tossed it. She paused, then quickly added in a noble tone, It's okay. I won't hold it against her. You won't what? My brother barked, incredulous. What right do you even have to hold something against her? You make a mess, then act like the victim. What are you trying to do? Stir up drama. Make trouble between us. His voice rose, sharp and cutting. Anna's face turned red, humiliated and confused. Who even let you into our house? He snapped. Get out. Go back to wherever you came from. You're not welcome here. Then he moved toward her, reaching for her arm, as if ready to drag her out himself. Anna panicked, tears poured down her cheeks, as she burst into loud, panicked sobs. What she didn't know was that my father, in his ever-calculating wisdom, had deliberately left her alone with my brother that afternoon. He'd stepped out of the living room to give her space to work her charm. My mother was still at the office. At that moment, my father finally heard the commotion and came rushing out. What's going on here? He barked, voice sharp. William Jones, how could you treat your little sister like that? My brother didn't hesitate. She's not my sister, he snapped, pointing straight at Anna. Helen is Ellen. She's the one you brought into this house, so take her and send her back. My father's face twisted. What nonsense are you spouting? Anna came into our home. She's family now. You're too old to be acting this immature. He tugged Anna to his side like a shield, scolding my brother all the while. She went out of her way to get you snacks, risking getting caught by your mother, and this is how you repay her. Shame on you. At the mention of junk food, I saw something flash in my brother's eyes. Rage. Real, suffocating fury. He looked like he was about to explode. But just as he opened his mouth to unleash it, I sent my thoughts in his direction. If I were second brother right now, I mused calmly. I wouldn't argue. It's useless. Dad brought Anna here to eventually steal our family's inheritance. What second brother needs to do now is focus, grow, work harder, and one day, strike back when no one sees it coming. My brother went still. The words he had prepared seemed to vanish from his tongue. After a beat, he muttered, No matter what, Helen is my only sister. Then he turned, grabbed my hand, and led me away, leaving our father and Anna frozen in place, staring after us in stunned confusion. It was all slipping through their fingers. The control? The manipulation. For the first time, they realized something terrifying. They couldn't fool us anymore. Back in my brother's room, I watched him storm over to the trash can and angrily dump every last snack Anna had bought: chips, fried chicken, candy, straight into the bin. He stood there for a moment, breathing heavily. Then, with sudden resolve, he snatched up his phone and began uninstalling all his games, one by one. And when it was done, he looked at me. Really looked. There was something new in his eyes. Regret, awareness, and maybe, just maybe, resolve. Helen, he asked quietly, have I disappointed you? In the past. I quickly shook my head and smiled, trying to encourage him. Of course not. I know you're the best. Second brother? And silently, I added, you were just led astray by Dad, that's all. I know you're smart. One day, you'll be someone amazing, I believe it. My brother's smile quivered a little. He looked moved, maybe even a little overwhelmed. Then he nodded, solemnly. Helen, from now on, I'm going to become someone worthy. Someone who can protect you. I won't let anyone hurt you again, okay? I believe you, I replied without hesitation. And I truly meant it. The very next day, the first thing he did was go to the hospital, full-body checkup. Then came the personal trainer, the strict fitness plan, the meal prep routines. But it didn't stop there. He also hired private tutors and restarted his studies from the ground up, literally from primary school material. His entire winter break became a boot camp. Sweat, schoolwork, and silence. Our father and Anna could only stand there, dumbfounded. They hadn't even touched the boy, and yet, since Anna entered the house, both my mother and second brother were acting like entirely new people. It made no sense to them. My mother, who hadn't set foot in the company in years, suddenly started showing up regularly. For a long time, she had trusted my father completely, handing over every decision, every signature. He had almost done it, almost earned the unwavering loyalty of the entire board, nearly risen to the position of undisputed power within the company. But the moment she reappeared, it all collapsed. Those same board members and executives who once smiled at him now looked straight through him. They didn't even pretend to respect him anymore. He was livid. I overheard him that night, whispering furiously to Anna in the corner of the study. "There's something seriously wrong with you," he hissed. "Weren't you supposed to win them over? What the hell have you done? Everything's unraveling. We're farther from the plan than ever. How the hell am I supposed to bring your mother here to enjoy the riches if you can't even get one thing right?" His voice dripped with disappointment. Anna, once smug and full of confidence, looked like a kicked puppy. I don't know," she stammered. "I did everything you told me to. I smiled. I cried. I acted pitiful. I even gave Helen the model. But they still don't believe me." Tears streamed down her face. My father still couldn't pinpoint what had gone wrong. Agitated, he lost his temper and hurled a vase to the floor. It exploded into 100 glittering shards. "Your older brother will be home for the new year soon," he said through clenched teeth. "He's always trusted me. Always respected me. The others, useless, unpredictable. But your brother, he's the one who matters. He's the heir to this family. That's already decided." "I understand," Anna said softly, her voice full of honeyed resolve. "This time, I'll make sure he likes me. I won't let you down." But even as she spoke, a shadow passed through her eyes. She wasn't happy. Not even close. She saw herself as better than me in every way. Prettier, smarter, more likable, better at playing the part, better at smiling at the right time, better at being the perfect little girl no one could say no to. So why wasn't it working? Why was I still the one they couldn't seem to forget? In the last life, when my father had finally discarded me like a torn-up doll, she was the one who smirked in triumph. I still remembered her cruel whisper, "I could ruin you with a single finger." And she did. The year I died 13 floors down, my mother and both of my brothers were devastated, shattered, even, but grief fades. And Anna knew exactly how to fill the void I left behind. Her sweet voice, her trembling lips, her perfectly timed tears. It didn't take long for her to replace me. Not just in their hearts, but in the family itself. And when their guards were down, when their love had shifted from me to her, she and my father took everything. The company, the house, the legacy. They destroyed them all. That memory burned in my chest like fire. But this time would be different. I clenched my jaw, eyes cold. This time, it's their turn to fall. This time, they'd face everything they once made me suffer, and I'd be the one watching. 1 week before the new year, my eldest brother finally returned home from abroad. He was still recovering physically and emotionally from the crash that had nearly taken his life. 6 months ago, his car had suddenly lost its brakes and careened off the side of a mountain road. It had been a horrific accident. At the time, my mother and I were vacationing overseas. My younger brother was at home, glued to his video games. And my father, he was the first one to arrive at the scene. They said the rain had been pouring down that day. Landslides had blocked the road. Ambulances couldn't reach the site. So, my father, drenched to the skin and covered in mud, carried my injured brother on his back for several kilometers until he found help. Someone recorded the entire thing. The footage spread like wildfire online. People cried over it. They called it the embodiment of a father's love. Even our family, skeptical as we were, softened toward him. We looked at him differently. We felt grateful. We let our guard down. But the truth was, that car crash hadn't been an accident at all. It was a hit staged by my father. He'd hired someone to sabotage the brakes. Because my eldest brother was in his way, the heir to the family fortune. The one person with enough power and respect to challenge him. And if my brother had died, Well, my younger brother was a harmless, indulgent mess. No real threat. And me, a girl, easy to manipulate, easy to replace. He'd already planted Anna in our house. The perfect stand-in, sweet, grateful, submissive. If everything had gone according to his plan, she would have taken my place. And once she did, everything, the estate, the business, the legacy, would have slipped right into their hands. No one would have noticed until it was too late. But now my eldest brother was back. And this time, things wouldn't go the way they had before. Not if I could help it. What no one knew was this. After the accident, my eldest brother hadn't died on the spot. He was still breathing, still alive. But my father, he hadn't rushed to help him out of fatherly love. He was about to walk away, until a passerby snapped a photo. With no other choice, my father staged a dramatic rescue. He carried my brother down the mountain like a hero, his clothes soaked and face solemn, the perfect performance. My brother was rushed to the hospital. Miraculously, he survived. But his legs never worked the same again. My father insisted on sending him abroad for further treatment, said foreign hospitals had better technology, more advanced rehab programs. He even made a show of pulling every string he had to get my brother into a prestigious private facility. 6 months later, no improvement. Not even a little. When my brother finally returned home, the first thing to greet him was Anna. She fluttered over like a butterfly drawn to flame. Her smile was dazzling, overly sweet, like spun sugar just before it burned. Big brother, she beamed, stopping in front of him. I've been waiting forever to meet you. I've heard so much about you from Dad. He always said you were calm, mature, and strikingly handsome. But you're even more charming than I imagined. My brother didn't say anything. Since the accident, he'd become painfully withdrawn, ashamed of his condition. Almost reclusive. There was a time when my mother and I flew overseas just to see him, just to be near him. But every time, he pushed us away. He would only allow my father into the room. Eventually, we stopped going. Now, faced with Anna's bubbly enthusiasm, he looked visibly uncomfortable. But not wanting to seem rude, he said nothing. You must be sore after such a long flight, she cooed, already reaching for his shoulders. Here, let me give you a massage. I even took a course just for this, so I could help you relax. She worked his shoulders with faux concern, adding, the instructor even taught me special techniques for circulation and leg recovery. I could massage your legs, too, every day, if you'd like. My brother stiffened. He tried to keep his expression neutral, but the discomfort showed. Still, after a long pause, he nodded. He gave in, and I just stood there, watching it all unfold, feeling absolutely nothing, no jealousy, no bitterness, no urge to intervene. Let her feel victorious for now. There's a saying I've always liked, the higher you climb, the harder you fall. And Anna was about to fall very, very hard. You have to let them taste a little sweetness first. How else will they feel the sting when everything falls apart? And sure enough, Anna wasted no time cozying up to my eldest brother. She'd had her doubts before, unsure if her charms were enough. But the moment he showed even a sliver of acceptance, she bloomed. Like a peacock unfurling its tail, she strutted around the house with newfound confidence, bubbly, radiant, louder than ever. My father was thrilled. After all, he'd invested years grooming this girl. There had to be results. No way she could end up falling short of me. That simply wouldn't do. So they made their move. 2 days before Lunar New Year, they decided to throw a lavish party. Anna's 15th birthday. My father insisted on hosting the celebration at home. Inviting relatives, family friends, business partners, anyone who mattered. It was more than a party. It was a declaration. He was introducing her to the world, officially and proudly, as his daughter. My mother was not on board. She couldn't hide her distaste for Anna anymore. It had soured into something sharper, colder. After all, what woman could truly accept raising her husband's other child under the same roof? But she didn't want to make a scene. So, for the sake of peace, she stepped aside, quietly withdrawing from the entire affair. She handed over the party preparations to my father and refused to involve herself. Out of sight, out of mind. My father, of course, was overjoyed. He went all out. By the time Anna's birthday arrived, the mansion was packed. The guest list read like a miniature society directory: relatives, old friends, business associates. All here, all watching. The one spacious villa buzzed with noise, light, and music. Anna floated through it all like a princess from a fairy tale, wrapped in a blush pink gown, clinging gracefully to my father's side. And my father. He couldn't have looked prouder, introducing her again and again, like showing off a masterpiece. "This is my daughter Anna," he said, beaming. "Isn't she lovely?" My mother couldn't take it anymore. She made up an excuse about some urgent matter and disappeared upstairs. My second brother didn't even bother coming down. He claimed he had studying too, though we all knew that meant headphones on, controller in hand. Only my eldest brother showed up. Since the accident that left his legs paralyzed, he hadn't attended a single family gathering. But for Anna, he made an exception. He wheeled himself into the grand hall, quietly, composed as always. After making her rounds on my father's arms, smiling sweetly at guests, playing the doting daughter, Anna finally made her way to me. I was at the dessert table, savoring a slice of cake, alone. She came toward me, eyes crinkling in a smile, like a cat who'd just caught a bird. "Helen," she cooed, holding up a delicate necklace that shimmered under the chandelier light. "Big brother gave me this. I heard it's insanely expensive. I love it so much. What do you think? Isn't it beautiful?" She spun in place, slowly, making sure I saw every sparkle of the gems on her chest. It was the same act she pulled in my last life. Back then, she used these petty provocations to push me into an outburst. Then she'd shrink back, all fragile innocence, and I'd be the one painted as jealous and unhinged. It worked last time. I gave her exactly the reaction she wanted. I argued. I shouted. It got ugly. Family friends whispered. Relatives judged. Even my own parents looked at me with disappointment in their eyes. But not this time. I barely glanced up. "It's beautiful," I said coolly. "Really suits you." She blinked. Not the reaction she expected. "Aren't you even a little jealous?" She pushed, her voice still syrupy sweet. "Not really," I said, shrugging as I reached for another bite of cake. "Big brother's given me tons of pretty dresses before. It's your birthday today. Of course he'd get you something nice. Why would I be jealous?" Anna's smile twitched ever so slightly. "I thought you might be upset," she continued, not ready to give up. "I heard you and Big Brother used to be very close, but these days, he's been spending so much more time with me, helping me feel at home in this family. I was afraid you might feel left out." "Glad I was wrong," she added innocently. "You're not nearly as clingy as I thought, not like me." Just then, my eldest brother happened to wheel himself over. God only knew what Anna had been whispering into his ear these past few days. Whatever it was, the effect was clear. He now looked at her with the kind of gentle protectiveness that used to be reserved for me. He spotted us standing together and, clearly worried I might be picking on her, came straight over. Of course Anna saw him coming. In fact, the entire little performance had been for his benefit. Every word she said, every flutter of her lashes, had been part of a carefully staged scene. She wanted him to believe that she, wide-eyed, innocent, and ever so delicate, had a deeper bond with him than I ever did. "Well," I said, tilting my head with mock confusion, "didn't Dad say we should help you adjust, since you're new to the family? Or am I supposed to act like you cling to Big Brother every second like some kind of greedy parasite?" Anna froze for a moment, caught off guard. But only for a moment. She quickly morphed her expression into a wounded pout, her voice soft and trembling. "So, you are mad at me for being close to him, but you just said you didn't care." And with that, the waterworks began. Tears spilled down her cheeks like someone had flipped a switch. To anyone who didn't know better, it looked like I'd just slapped her across the face. My brother's face darkened as soon as he saw her crying. His voice lowered. "Serious, what's going on here?" "Nothing," Anna sniffled pitifully. "I promise I'll be more careful next time. Helen, please don't be mad at me, okay? I came here to be part of your family, not to ruin it." It was almost impressive how shameless she could be. Even hearing those same lines for the second lifetime, I couldn't help but let out a quiet laugh. Not because it was funny, because it was absurd. How could someone twist the truth so easily and pretend she was the victim? "Helen." My brother's voice snapped. He had seen the mocking smile at the corner of my lips and clearly, he didn't like it. His face was darker than I'd ever seen it. He didn't even bother asking what had happened. Without a moment's hesitation, my brother took her side. "Anna just got here. Everything is unfamiliar to her." Mom and our younger brother don't care to help, can't you? As her sister, show a little kindness. You really think I should take care of her? I asked calmly, looking him in the eyes. Shouldn't you? He shot back. You've been spoiled your whole life. Maybe now that Anna's here, you'll finally learn how to get along with someone your own age. With that, he turned to lead Anna away, as if I were the one who'd done something wrong. Even though I'd lived this exact moment once before, it still stung. But I forced myself to hold it in. After all, the real show hadn't even started yet. I watched them walk away. They barely made it a few steps before a sharp tearing sound split the air. Anna's long pink dress suddenly ripped down the back with a dramatic shriek. Now, I hadn't stepped on her gown, but Anna knew exactly how to play this game. She had intentionally trodden on her own hem the moment my brother turned his back. As soon as he spun around, she snatched her foot back and clutched the torn fabric to her chest. The neckline now dipping low and her whole frame trembling with just the right amount of shame. Then came the cry, "Helen, how could you do this to me?" Only my brother and maybe my father had noticed the small verbal skirmish between the two of us earlier. But now, thanks to that one well-timed scream, all eyes in the banquet hall were on us. Anna looked absolutely pitiful, standing there half swallowed by my brother's suit jacket, her eyes wide and full of tears, like some fragile little sparrow that had just been chased from its nest. She didn't even need to say much. Her silence, her trembling hands had told the whole room exactly what she wanted them to believe. My brother was quick to act, slipping off his coat and draping it around her shoulders as though protecting a porcelain doll. Anna curled into it, clutching the fabric close and hiding behind him like he was her only lifeline. "What happened?" my father asked, striding up, concern laced in every word. Anna whispered, her voice trembling, too embarrassed to speak. Of course. She was the tragic heroine now. Michael Jones's. My father turned to my eldest brother. What exactly happened here? My eldest brother didn't even hesitate. Right there, in front of everyone, he threw me under the bus without a shred of concern for my dignity. Helen stepped on Anna's dress, he said flatly. I blinked. Seriously, Helen. My father scolded, his voice sharp. It's her birthday. Can't you let go of your jealousy just this once? She's gone 15 years without a proper celebration. 15 years without a birthday. Really? So who had he been celebrating with all those years? His real daughter? By now, the murmurs had started rolling through the hall like low thunderclouds. Has Helen really been spoiled rotten? Someone whispered. To humiliate Anna in front of everyone, on her birthday. Well, Anna's part of the family now. Helen should know how to behave by this point. I heard Anna had a tough childhood. Doesn't Helen have any compassion? Every single word was a jab. Each whisper, a knife. I caught the faintest flicker of a smug smile in my father's eyes, and an even brighter one dancing across Anna's face, hidden just behind her lowered lashes. They thought they had me right where they wanted. That the plan was falling into place. But I didn't panic. I didn't rush to defend myself. Instead, I turned to my eldest brother and let my thoughts float directly into his mind. What's the point in explaining now? No one will believe me. Even you, my favorite brother. Think I did this on purpose, that I ruined her dress out of spite. He stiffened. I saw the flicker in his eyes' confusion. He hadn't heard me speak, yet the words echoed clearly in his head. He looked around, unsettled. Right then, I knew. He was beginning to hear me again. I spoke again quietly, but directly into his mind. It's okay if no one believes me. I can live with that. But what I really can't stand is seeing you, of all people, getting tricked by Dad. Sitting there, not knowing the truth. If you knew that it was Dad who paid someone to sabotage your car, would it break your heart? You love him so much. I don't want you to be hurt, big brother. Something shifted. Sitting in his wheelchair, my brother visibly tensed. His face turned pale. His knuckles whitened as he gripped the armrests so tight, his whole body trembled with rage. Anna, still hovering beside him, immediately sensed the change in his mood. Her lips curled ever so slightly, just a twitch, but it was almost a smile. She thought his anger was for me. She thought she was winning, thinking the moment was perfect. She stepped forward, voice trembling with emotion. Helen, she said softly, if you really dislike me that much, I'll leave. I've already been so lucky just to spend this past month here. I've had a dad, a mom, 2 brothers, and even a little sister. It's more than I ever dreamed of. I won't ask for more." She looked down, her voice full of fake sorrow. "If my being here makes you unhappy, then no matter how much I love this home, I wouldn't feel right staying. I never wanted to take anything away from you." Her heartfelt words instantly tugged on everyone's emotions. One by one, the relatives started shaking their heads at me, disapproving looks spreading like wildfire. "Helen, why are you being so childish? Anna's been nothing but considerate." "She's right, sweetheart. Go apologize. There's no need to hold on to petty grudges. She's such a kind girl. Honestly, having a big sister like that is a blessing. You should learn to appreciate her." Seeing so many people siding with her, Anna's confidence surged. She lowered her gaze shyly, voice soft and gentle like a damsel in distress. "Please, don't blame Helen anymore," she said sweetly. "I don't want her to feel upset because of me. I came into this house." She paused dramatically, lips trembling as if holding back some tragic truth. "As nothing more than an adopted child," she finally said, her voice barely a whisper. "I was never really part of this family. If Helen doesn't like me, maybe I shouldn't stay." Right on cue, my father stepped in, his tone firm and fatherly, perfectly synchronized with her performance. "The moment I brought you into this house, you became part of this family." Anna shook her head sorrowfully. "But I don't belong here. I have nothing. I haven't done anything to deserve it. I haven't contributed to the family at all." "Why are you saying that?" my father replied helplessly. "Why are you so lacking in confidence? Dad." She turned to him with teary eyes. "Can you take me back to the orphanage tonight? That's where I truly belong." My father looked devastated, pacing as though the world was collapsing around him. "What do I have to do," he said desperately, "to prove that you have a place in this family? What do I have to do to make you feel welcome?" He looked like a man losing his daughter, anxious, frantic, like a desperate ant crawling on a hot pan. If I hadn't lived through my previous life, I might have believed him too. What a shame he never went into acting. Because for over 10 years, he'd performed flawlessly in the Jones household without a single crack in his mask. But here's the truth. That man is not my real father. My biological father died in an accident before I even turned one. Back then, he, the man everyone called Dad, was just a low-ranking manager in my mother's company. When news broke that my mother had become a widow, he swooped in like a hawk in mourning clothes. At first, she ignored him completely. Her love for my real father was deep, unshakable. But she had no idea. He didn't go after her directly. No, he started with me and my 2 older brothers. He treated us so well, so unfailingly kind and thoughtful, that it left all of us stunned. Me. My 2 brothers. Even my mother. When I was just 3 years old, I came down with a dangerously high fever. It was shortly after my biological father passed away. My mom had been holding our family and the company together on her own. And that night, she had no choice but to rush to the office for an emergency. It was him who stepped in without hesitation and took me to the hospital. By the time my mother arrived, panicked and breathless, she found him asleep beside me, cradling me in his arms like his own child. That moment melted her defenses. 2 years later, he wore down her last walls. She gave in. Family, friends even, my late father's relatives, encouraged her to accept him. They said he was a good man. That someone like him, willing to raise 3 children who weren't even his, was rare. A blessing. Eventually, she let go of her hesitation and remarried. At their wedding, he stood proudly and vowed in front of everyone. He would love my mother for the rest of his life. He would raise me and my brothers as his own. We were his only children forever. And for a long time, it seemed like he meant every word. For over a decade, he didn't have a single child with my mother. Not one. There was a time, actually, when my mom considered having another baby for him. We were financially secure, and she thought it would be nice to give him a child of his own, something that truly connected them. But he said no. He insisted that the 3 of us were enough, that we were already his in every way that mattered. Seeing how firm he was, my mother didn't push the issue. And over time, her love for him only deepened. Eventually, we all started calling him Dad. To outsiders, he was the epitome of devotion, selfless, noble, and endlessly patient. But what no one knew was that every act of kindness, every tear he ever shed, every word he ever spoke was a part of his plan. He didn't refuse to have a child with my mother out of love or loyalty. He did it because he already had one. A daughter. with the woman he loved before my mom. And more importantly, he didn't want any children with my mom, because he never intended to be part of our family. He came to destroy it. And in my past life, he did exactly that. He stole my mother's company. He pushed her to the edge so far that she jumped from the rooftop to her death. He left my eldest brother alone overseas, forced to survive with paralyzed legs and no support. He stood by as my second brother withered away in sickness, never lifting a finger, and me. He shoved me from the rooftop himself, cold, merciless, leaving me to die with my eyes wide open and my soul filled with rage. Then he brought his mistress and their precious daughter Anna into our home, into the life that was never theirs to claim, and they devoured it. They took everything that once belonged to the Jones family and made it their playground. Just then, someone in the grand hall spoke up loud and clear. Well, isn't the solution obvious? Anna says she doesn't feel secure in this family. If you want to give her that sense of security, then why not just transfer her some shares of Jones Corporation? Once she has ownership, who could ever question whether she belongs? The suggestion came from one of my mother's own relatives. But of course he had long since been bought. And the reason my so-called father was bold enough to play this game again was because it had worked before. Years ago, under the pretense of helping share the burden, he positioned himself as one of the company's senior executives. He played the part of the humble, self-sacrificing man, letting others accuse him of incompetence just to earn my mother's sympathy. In the end, she transferred 20% of the company's shares to him out of guilt. Now, he was pulling the same trick again. And like before, the actress had her lines memorized. "I can't accept that," Anna gasped, her voice trembling with feigned humility. Her expression was the perfect mix of panic and heartbreak. "I really can't. Please don't do this." In my previous life, that chunk of shares had come from my mother. She had pitied Ani enough to give her 10% of the company. At the time, my mother held 30% of Jones Corporation. After the gift, she was left with only 20%. My eldest brother held 20%. My stepfather had another 20%. The remaining 30% was divided among smaller shareholders. Using his own 20% and Anna's 10%, my stepfather quietly acquired additional shares from minor stakeholders. Not only that, he manipulated my eldest brother into surrendering another 10%, spinning it as a way to stabilize the company's future. And that was how he became the largest shareholder of Jones Corporation. But this time, my mother wasn't here. I watched as he turned toward my eldest brother, gaze steady, tone firm. "Michael Jones," he began, his voice layered with gravity, "your father has never asked you for anything. You know the shares I hold now are what allowed me to help your mother carry the weight of this company. But you're still recovering, not yet working. For now, give Anna 10%. I promise I'll make it up to you later." He spoke like a man with purpose, like a man sure of his victory. He didn't think my brother would say no. Why would he? Only moments ago, my eldest brother had stood by Anna, embarrassing me in front of everyone. If he handed her a slice of his shares now, it would just reinforce that stance deal, the perfect finishing blow to my pride. My stepfather believed this was a done deal. But he didn't notice what I did. At the back of the room, my mother had arrived, my second brother right behind her. Maybe the house staff had tipped them off. Maybe they sensed something was wrong. Either way, they were here now, and they looked furious. So at that exact moment, everyone in the family heard my thoughts. If Big Brother gives his shares to Anna, that man will take one step closer to swallowing our entire family fortune. His legs, it's not that they couldn't be treated. It's because that man deliberately sabotaged his recovery. Even the foreign doctor was someone he arranged. What a mess. If people found out that everything he's done was just to marry his so-called childhood sweetheart, would our family survive the fallout? I saw it right then and there. The way my family's eyes shifted toward him. Even my once naive brother. His gaze now burned with rage, like steam was about to rise off his head. And there she was, still putting on her pathetic little act. "Dad, I don't want it," she whined, her voice soft and trembling for effect. "How could I accept my brother's shares? Don't listen to him, please. I'm not that kind of person." And with all the innocence she could muster, she reached out to grab my brother's arm, probably hoping to seal her virtue with a gentle touch. But the moment she laid a hand on him, bang, she hit the floor hard. Everyone froze. Even Anna was too stunned to cry out. She just sat there, wide-eyed, completely disoriented. My stepfather was the first to react. "Michael Jones, what are you doing?" he roared. "How could you treat Anna like that? What's gotten into you?" But my brother didn't flinch. He just let out a cold guttural laugh. Ha! Then slowly, he turned to face the man he had called father his entire life, and the way he looked at him, as if he could burn a hole straight through his soul. In my previous life, after I died, I became a ghost haunting him. By the time I learned the truth, the hatred inside me had already festered into something primal. I wanted to tear him apart, rip him to shreds with my bare hands. But ghosts can't kill, so I forced myself to stay calm, to think strategically. Big Brother doesn't have any solid evidence right now. If he makes a move too soon, no one will believe him. Instead, they'll accuse our whole family of bullying poor Anna. That man and his darling daughter will spin it into a tale of cruelty, and the world will take their side. It's not worth it. Not now. There are cameras in this house. All it takes is one playback to show the truth that she framed me. I could see it in my brother's eyes. He was hanging on by a thread. Meanwhile, my stepfather was still playing the concerned parent, sighing dramatically, accusing Big Brother of having changed since the car accident. Others nodded along, swayed by the facade. How easy it was for him to manipulate the room, until Big Brother said, clear and firm, "Aunt Olivia, bring me the surveillance footage from the main hall." The words sliced through the noise like a knife. Anna flinched. She went pale. I saw her glance sharply at my stepfather, silent, desperate. And for the first time, that man faltered. "Why would you need to check the security footage?" he asked, voice tight, almost cracking. My brother didn't answer. He didn't have to. My stepfather tried again, louder now, turning on Aunt Olivia. "There's no need to pull that footage." But then my mother stepped in. Her voice wasn't loud, but it held a weight that silenced the room. "This is my house, and I make the decisions here." The chill in her tone made the air shift. She turned to Aunt Olivia with quiet authority. "Go, bring the footage." "Yes, Madam," Aunt Olivia replied, and quickly disappeared down the hall. And just like that, Anna knew this was no longer a stage she could control. She scrambled to her feet, brushing dust from her dress, voice trembling with manufactured heartbreak. "Why doesn't Big Brother want me here?" she cried out. "If no one in this house wants me, I'll go. I'll leave right now. No one is leaving until my sister's name is cleared." My brother's voice cracked through the room like thunder. His legs may have been paralyzed, but his presence, his command was undeniable. After all, he wasn't just anyone. He was the heir our mother had personally raised and trained. And in this moment, he stood tall, if not physically, then in every other way that mattered. There had been a time, after the accident, when he withdrew, quiet, hollow-eyed, a shadow of himself, but now, he was back. Anna didn't dare speak another word. My stepfather opened his mouth once, twice, then closed it again, swallowed by the pressure in the room. He knew, we all did. The truth was about to land, and it was going to land hard. Aunt Olivia returned and turned on the surveillance footage. And just like that, everything came crashing down. The entire hall watched in stunned silence as the video clearly showed Anna deliberately stepping on her own gown, tearing it, then turning around to frame me. The room erupted, gasps, whispers, faces twisting with shock and disgust. The tide of judgment shifted in an instant. Anna stood frozen, pale, and trembling. It was a miracle she hadn't drowned in the venomous glares alone. Even a girl with skin as thick as hers had to want the ground to swallow her whole. "Get her out of my house." My mother's voice was sharp, every word precise, like the strike of a blade. "I never want to see her again. No, I'm not leaving." Panic surged through Anna's eyes as she stumbled forward, clinging to any hope that remained. She had just gotten used to this life, this beautiful home, the identity of Miss Jones, the luxury, the power, the illusion. She wasn't ready to let it go, and why would she be? For years, my stepfather had been careful not to give her or her mother too much, afraid to raise suspicion. But even that limited taste of the Jones family's world was a paradise compared to the life she'd crawled out of. "I'll never do it again. I swear I'll never do it again. Mom, please give me one more chance." Anna's voice cracked as she sobbed, her entire body trembling with desperation. Had the truth not come to light, she might have gotten everything she wanted: status, power, even love wrapped in lies. But my mother didn't spare her a single glance. "Throw her out. I don't want filth like that. dirtying this house," she said coldly. Dad, please." Anna turned to my stepfather, her voice a broken whisper of pleading. But he wasn't stupid. He knew she was no longer of use. The mask had slipped, the illusion shattered. Now she was nothing but a liability. "I didn't think you were this kind of person," he said, voice full of manufactured disappointment. "I misjudged you. I'll take you away now. Don't worry." And just like that, he turned to my mother, voice full of false remorse. "I had no idea she was so manipulative. I'll handle it. Don't be angry, all right?" My mother let out a short, bitter laugh. She wasn't angry anymore. She was simply done. Now, when she looked at him, it was the way someone might watch a clown stumble around on stage, performative and irrelevant. He thought she was still fuming, still emotionally rattled, so he didn't think twice. He just grabbed Anna and pulled her away. And though he had once loved his first love deeply, had cherished the daughter born from that love, what he cared about more was power. If he hadn't, he never would have sold out his own wife and children for the empire he tried to steal. So this time, with Anna kicked out of the house, there was no fairy tale ending waiting for her. And I knew without a shred of doubt that my so-called father would pin all the blame on her. But to my family, that didn't matter. What mattered now was simple. Stripping him of everything he needed to lose it all. He needed to pay for the sins he'd buried beneath his carefully crafted mask. After escorting Anna out, he returned as if nothing had happened. The first thing he did, stand before the guests, before the entire room, and apologize like he was the real victim. With a tone soaked in regret, he claimed he'd been deceived too. That he'd had no idea Anna could be so manipulative. That he had only ever treated her well and had been hurt deeply in return. My mother didn't let him get away with it. "The one who's suffered most is Helen," she said coolly, cutting through his performance. "She's the one who was slandered, humiliated, lied about." My father's head bobbed in frantic agreement. Yes, of course. Helen is the one who was hurt the most. "It's all my fault. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I promise, I'll never take in another child again. You are, and always will be, my one and only daughter." I had to bite my tongue to keep from laughing or throwing up. But I kept my face neutral, let him talk. My mother crossed her arms. "Words don't mean anything now. If you really feel guilty, then compensate her. Properly, tangibly." He turned to me at once, eyes glinting with false sincerity. "Tell me what you want, Helen, anything. Whatever it is, I'll make it happen." I tilted my head, feigning innocence. "Really? Anything at all?" "Of course," he said, without hesitation. "Have I ever broken a promise to you?" He thought he could win me over the way he used to, with some cheap little gesture. A sweet word, a metaphorical candy. But I didn't want candy anymore. "I want you to transfer your shares in Joan's group to me," I said, clear and unwavering. Silence fell like a blade. And right then, I saw it, the way the color drained from his face. Anyone watching could see his reaction. Even the dimmest guest in the room would have noticed the flicker of panic in his eyes. It took him a full moment to speak again, and when he did, his voice was unsteady. "But, you're only 14. What would you even do with company shares at your age? Yet you are going to give them to Anna," I replied, tilting my head slightly. "Is she more important to you than I am?" I paused, letting my voice drop into something more vulnerable. "Is she your daughter or something?" That hit him like a thunderclap. "Of course not," he barked, his voice cracking in haste. "Don't talk nonsense. I only have one daughter." "Then why were you ready to hand her your shares, but not me?" "Those shares are meant to help your mother run the company. No need for that," my mother cut in, cool and direct. "Just now, Michael Jones agreed to return to the company." He blinked. "Michael Jones? But he's not in any condition to." He still believed my older brother would forever remain broken. That he'd given up. That he wouldn't rise again. But Michael Jones sat tall in his wheelchair, spine straight, voice sharp. "I'm the eldest son of this family. It's my responsibility." There was steel in his tone. A finality that made even the guests shift uncomfortably. My father clenched his jaw, teeth grinding. He didn't want to give in, but he had no excuse left to refuse. "So, can you transfer those shares now?" I asked sweetly, tilting my head again, eyes wide with fake innocence. "You did say you'd give me anything I wanted, remember?" All around us, the guests watched. All eyes on him. If he refused now, There would be no graceful way down from the stage he'd climbed so high. He clenched his jaw. For the moment, he still didn't dare go head-to-head with our family outright. From his perspective, if he tore off his carefully worn mask now, all he'd be left with was that measly 20% of shares. But if he played the game a bit longer, stayed patient, there might still be a chance to turn the tables again. He'd invested too many years to back down without a fight. How could he just let it all go? Fine, he muttered at last, the word like gravel dragged from his throat. He said it like a man tearing out a piece of his own heart. I beamed, not bothering to hide my joy. "You're giving me all your shares?" I asked, sweet and innocent. He hesitated for a beat too long. 10%, he bargained, voice tight. "That's what I asked your brother to give Anna to. It's only fair." I tilted my head, pretending to be heartbroken. "So in your eyes, I'm no more important than Anna?" He had no answer. Silence stretched between us. My mother stepped in then, her voice calm but firm. "When you accepted my shares, you said you didn't want them. You claimed you were just helping out, and one day they'd all go to the children. Now we're just giving a part of it to Helen, ahead of time as compensation. And you're unhappy already." That shut him up. All around us, relatives and family friends were watching, their eyes wide, their minds turning. His long-cultivated image of a gentle, loving husband and devoted father was hanging by a thread, and he knew it. If he wanted to preserve that image, to keep pretending, then the decade he'd spent weaving this illusion might just survive. But if he gave it up now, if he dropped the mask, then he was just a man with 20% and no legacy. And that, he couldn't stomach. My mother didn't push him. She simply gave him space to think, to sweat, to sink deeper into the trap he built himself. Because this time, the humiliation wasn't hers. This time, the stage lights were on him. And he was the one drenched in sweat. The murmurs from the crowd grew louder, laced with judgment and curiosity. No one's truly above desire. He's just embarrassed because he talked too big before. If he really saw her as his own daughter, why fuss over a few shares? Selfish, like everyone else. No matter how nice they seem, people always think of themselves first. My father stood there, surrounded by whispers that cut deeper than any knife, and in front of so many people, he had no way to save face. I saw it then, a flash of cold malice in his eyes. It passed in an instant, but I caught it. The very next moment, he straightened his back and put on a benevolent expression. "Why would I be upset?" he said, almost laughing. "When I first took these shares, I said I was only holding them for the children. I was just considering whether to give William 10% as well. If both Michael Jones and Helen have shares, then William should too, don't you think?" But my second brother didn't even hesitate. "I don't want them. Just give them to Helen," he said flatly. Everyone in the room could see what our father was trying to do. He thought William was the easiest to manipulate. He believed all this diligence and effort from my second brother was just a phase one that wouldn't last. But when William shut him down so cleanly, he had no choice. "Well, if William doesn't want them," he said smoothly, "then I'll give them all to Helen." "Thank you, Dad," I replied sweetly, as if the whole moment hadn't just been a battlefield. My mother didn't waste a second. She called the family's legal team immediately, and right in that very hall we signed the official documents transferring the shares into my name. I imagine even he couldn't believe what had just happened. He'd brought Anna into our home as a pawn to tighten his grip on the company, and in the end, he lost everything. If regret had a color, I'm sure his insides were painted green. But for our family, this was only the beginning. What he'd done to us in the last life, tearing us apart, destroying everything we had, couldn't be settled with one transfer of shares. This time around, I was going to make sure he paid double. After that, life in our household began to return to normal. On the surface at least, but it was easy to see my father was unraveling. He had no shares, no control. And for a man like him who spent his entire life climbing, scheming, taking, being powerless was more than a loss. It was the beginning of his end. My mother and eldest brother went back to their usual work routines. My brother, still recovering, made time to train his body. My second brother became obsessed with weightlifting and academic spending, every spare moment growing stronger, sharper, and I remained the beloved darling of the family, the one everyone doted on. Our home was filled with warmth and quiet progress. We were healing, thriving, Everything was moving in a direction completely opposite of what my father had hoped for. Eventually, he couldn't take it anymore. He made up a flimsy excuse some relative back in the countryside needed help and left. But that night, long after the world had gone to sleep, he drove a car across the city and returned to the villa. He planned everything. With the whole family deep in sleep, he'd strike a match, light the house ablaze, and walk away like a grieving survivor. It was just after 3 a.m. The world was quiet. No one noticed the flames at first, not the neighbors, not the security patrols. By the time the management office noticed, the fire had already devoured most of the villa. Firefighters battled the inferno till dawn. The next morning, he returned rushed to the scene with perfectly timed urgency. And the moment he saw the ashes, he collapsed to the ground, sobbing as if his soul had shattered. Onlookers, touched by his grief, moved in to comfort him. But he didn't seem to hear a word. He wailed like a broken man. If I had known. If I had only stayed. If I had died with them. What's the point of living now? His performance was flawless. No one noticed the gleam of triumph that flickered in his eyes when no one was looking. To the world, he was a father who had lost everything. But in his mind, he was the last man standing. The sole heir, the final victor. And just as he basked in that silent glory, a voice called from behind him, clear, steady, unmistakable. Dad. I stood there, behind him, my shadow falling across his own. I saw my father's body tremble. For a moment, he truly believed he was hallucinating. Dear husband, my mother called gently, her voice steady. He lifted his head slowly, hesitantly, then turned around with a face as pale as ash. There we were, all of us, alive, unscathed, standing behind him. He stumbled backward and fell flat onto the ground, his voice cracking in terror. You've all become ghosts, haven't you? We're very much alive, I said calmly. We went on a cruise yesterday. Just got back this morning. You weren't home. His voice shifted. The panic faded, and in its place came rage, raw, unfiltered. It spilled from his eyes, the hatred he had always tried to hide. If he could have burned us alive right there, he would have. No, I replied with mock innocence. Wait, what happened to the house? Something flickered in his eyes, desperation. He was cracking, trying to hold his mask in place. A few days ago, I heard about some break-ins, I continued casually. I installed a few hidden cameras by the front gate. Let me just check the footage real quick. I pulled out my phone. Panic exploded across his face. In a flash, he lunged forward, yanked the phone from my hand, and smashed it to the ground over and over until the screen shattered to pieces. Everyone stared at him. He looked up, forced a hollow laugh, and said, "What matters is that you're all safe. That's all I care about. The rest isn't important. We're together. That's what matters." My mother didn't even blink. "Yes," she said coldly. "This family is whole. Except for you." "What, honey, what are you saying?" His voice cracked. He was unraveling, panic crawling up his spine. "You know exactly what I'm saying," she said. "I've already handed over the evidence to the police. Get ready to face the consequences." "What? What the hell are you talking about? You're insane," he shouted, eyes wild, still denying it, still clawing at the performance. But my mother cut in again. "The footage of you setting the villa on fire last night. I gave it to the police this morning." She glanced behind him. "Look, they're here right on time." And when he turned to see the flashing red and blue lights approaching, he bolted, like the coward he had always been. I said, "Dad, whether we're blood related or not, we still share the bond of father and daughter. So I've got a gift for you." He looked at me, something soft flickering in his eyes, hope maybe, expectation. I took my time, each word deliberate. "Anna isn't your daughter." That look in his eyes shattered. Back when Anna first showed up, my mother had already taken precautions. She had a DNA test, done no biological relation. But what we did have were very real photos. Photographs taken by the private investigator my mother had hired. Photos of my father sneaking around with his so-called first love. I gave him a tilted smile. Imagine that. All these years, raising someone else's child. And to think when my mother wanted to have a baby with you, you refused. What a shame. What a joke. "No, that's not true. That's not," he tried to protest, but his voice cracked. His body had already started to crumble. "Figure it out yourself after you're out," I said calmly. "I'm sure it'll be quite the show." "What happens next?" How he'll face his precious first love. How he'll treat Anna once he learns the truth. None of that concerned me anymore. At most, it'd be another entertaining drama to watch. I stepped out of the holding cell and looked up at the sky, vast, cloudless, and clear. I smiled. Free, finally. And this time, I'd savor every bit of the warmth, the love, the family. Everything I'd never truly had in my previous life.